All right, so here's another example. Again, the first rule of factoring is pull out the greatest common factor. So 6 goes into here, 6 goes into here, does 6 go into 96? You might have to pull out your calculator and find out. But yes, it does. So I'm going to factor out that 6. So that's going to give me x squared plus 2. Let's redo that. 2x minus 16. Okay, so let's work all our factors of 16. You have 1 and 16, 2 and 8, and 4 and 4. So I'm going to have 6 parentheses, parentheses, parentheses. All right, what makes x squared? Well, x and x. So how do I make that minus sign? I need a plus and a minus. All right, so I'm going to put the two closest together. I'm going to do 4 and 4. So when I factor that, that gives me, or when I FOIL that, it gives me x squared minus 4x plus 4x minus 16. All right, so I have my pluses and my minuses. These sum up to be 0x. Not what I want. So 4 and 4 do not work. All right, so I'm going to come in and try 2 and 8. So I got 2 and 8. So this would be minus 8, and this is plus 2. And so negative, that would give me a minus 6x, which is not my plus 2. So this combo doesn't work. Okay. If you flip the 2 and the 8, it would just give you a plus 6. So it's not too big a deal. The number's not right, so don't worry. Now we can try 1 and 16. So I'm just going to put 16 and 1. So this gives me minus 1x plus 16x. And when I sum those up, that gives me 15x, which is not my 2x either. So this becomes my solution. This is not prime because you did factor out the greatest common factor. So if you can factor out the greatest common factor, the problem is not prime. This is a factor. Sometimes you don't get those little pods, the smaller pods. That's okay. All right, let's look at this one. What do they all have in common? Well, 7, 49, and 21. They have 7 in common. Okay, the other thing they have in common is a y, leaving me x squared plus 7x minus 3. Okay, again, let's factor that larger one, so that gives me x and x. How do I make a minus sign? It's a plus and a minus. What makes 3? 1 and 3. So let's throw it in, 1 and 3. So that would, let's FOIL, x squared plus, minus 3x plus 1x minus 3. And I combine those, and that gives me a minus 2x. A minus 2x is not my 7, and I have no other combinations. So that means we do not get to pot up. This will have no solution, but again, that is the factor. It will factor to this. It's not that the problem's prime, but that's your factor. All right, you're also going to come across a negative sign. If you come across a negative sign sitting in front of the leading degree, you need to remove it. So by removing that, you're going to factor out a -1. So you're going to have -1 times x squared. And that negative goes all the way through. So this would become 2x, and this becomes -3. Now you can probably factor it out. Let's check it out. What times what makes x squared? Well, that's x and x. What makes a minus sign? A plus and a minus. What makes 3? 1 and 3. So I'm going to come in and put my 1 and my 3. I'm going to test this out by foiling. That gives me x squared minus 3x plus 1x minus 3. This gives me a minus 2x. So all this tells me is I need to change my sign. So I'm going to come in, change this. It's going to become minus 1. This is going to become a plus 3. So this becomes plus 3. And this becomes minus 1x. And this becomes a positive 2x, which tells me this. So, but what I did forget to do is bring down that negative 1. Okay, so you need to bring those down. All right. And there are a lot of problems, but you need to practice. I never came across a prime problem. Doesn't mean that you won't. But even if you can factor like a negative 1 out, the problem's not prime. You factored something out, and even if it leaves you like this, but this problem did continue. So please continue and check all the solutions.